This is Shane Harder from Seeking Unemployment. This is the real estate investment show where we learn how to become gainfully unemployed together. Now, today is part 8 in a larger series where I ask a whole bunch of different investors from all over the country in different experience levels, different asset classes, all of that kind of thing, how they're handling the exact same issue. So today's issue we're talking about is paid mentorships. Now, this can be a little bit of a hot topic because some mentorship groups, specifically the larger ones where it's a big conference hall and they pressure you into doing things, handing over large sums of money, have gotten a really bad reputation through the industry. And so it's also kind of tarnished other paid mentorships that are a lot on a much smaller scale, where it might be one investor taking on one or two students, teaching them how they've done it. And so I really wanted to know how people felt about it, given that it has a bad reputation from a lot of people, but is it still a good, viable option to learn from another investor? So let's find out how they believe in this.
I think it depends. So I have done, and like I'm embarrassed to say this because it was before I found the RIAs, but I have done like the super expensive real estate mentorship stuff, and it was just a joke. I learned way more paying $150 to be a member of the RIA for a year than I ever did paying money for that stuff. So now I do pay for mentorship, but it's not as like big ticket mentorship. I mean, it's like under $10,000, and to me, it's like I'm doing that very selectively, and I'm doing it with people that I can actually see doing it, not just people that are teaching it. So I think it's a good idea. You just like you can go a long way before you need it. I think that's my opinion. You just don't need it right away.
Yeah. I would not be where I am without mentors. It just wouldn't be. I wouldn't have the same level of belief about what's possible without those mentors. A mentor can basically take something that maybe your own brain can't get its head around as being possible and show you exactly how to do it, why to do it, how to nurture it, and how to start from scratch and grow. Especially if you're starting from scratch, but really any level, I'm a big believer in having a coach, maybe multiple coaches. I like the life coach model, and I like the performance coach model as well. Those are obviously going to be paid positions. And then I would say that the other very strategic paid mentorship situation would be somebody like a Corey Peterson, for instance, that runs a mastermind that's an exclusive mastermind with no more than 15 people in it, that he guides. They meet 3 times a year in person, and then have monthly meetings. Corey he has about $95 million in assets. He's worth about $20 million. And if you're in his mastermind, he will actually offer to sponsor your deals if he likes them, of course. It's got to be a deal that he likes. But if you bring him a deal that he likes, he will be the sponsor of that deal, which means he'll sign on the loan.
I'm mixed on paid mentorships because you can really gain a lot from mentorships, period, whether they're paid for or not. The thing that I would tell people to watch out for is make sure that your mentor is legitimate. Make sure that they've done stuff, right? Because I coached on behalf of another company. I was an independent contractor for another company, and I was obligated to teach their stuff for a number of years. And they had some really, really good stuff. But then there was also some stuff I'm like, this isn't going to help them. For instance, I'll give you an example. At one point, we completely removed from that company's presentations anything referring to real estate investment clubs. They just would not let us mention that in our coaching. Now, I was on the coaching side, not the sales side, but they wouldn't let us mention it because apparently we go to some of the RIA meetings, the real estate investment clubs, and they would badmouth, coaching companies and stuff like that. And they just didn't want people going to the RIA meetings they didn't want to get badmouthed, and people asked for their money back and stuff like that. Back to the point, I think mentorships are great. Just make sure that you check out the mentor, make sure that they know what they're talking about. Ask them about deals, ask them, quiz them a little bit on their knowledge to get a feel for things and everything. The downside to getting a free mentorship is if you're not paying someone, then they may or may not be available to you when you need them. Yeah. And so nothing wrong with that. Obviously it's free. And then sometimes the mentor looks at it as though, well, am I just wasting my time here? I was talking to somebody just recently that said that they'd given a lot of advice out for free. And then the people they were like literally sharing deals that they were working with. And some of the people that they were mentoring went out and
bid against them,
got the deal.
Yeah.
That's just not right.
That's funny.
And so my mentorships typically fall on the less expensive side. But I want somebody to have some skin in the game so that they show that they are for real, that they really, really are committed and that they want to do it. But yeah, I'm okay with it as long as the person you're getting help from knows what they're talking about. I have paid, so I paid for one of the large coaching companies to coach me in various aspects of real estate. And I got a ton out of it. So I was okay paying for that. The only downside in my specific situation, now I didn't pay, I did pay into the 5 figures. I won't say exactly how much, but I did pay into the 5 figures, but I didn't pay. I know some people have paid 50, 60, 70. I think the most I ever heard was $85,000 for one of these coaching companies to, teach them all about real estate.
Yeah.
Man, it's going to take a lot of deals to get that money back. But but I did pay around 10 grand for some coaching from one of those big coaching companies one time. I think it was about my second year into real estate investing, and I got a ton of value out of that. And so I won't knock them completely, but you just really want to make sure that the people that you're getting the direct coaching from know what they're doing. Yeah. I've also paid for coaching in other areas. And outside of real estate, whether it's marketing or whatever, and I paid thousands and thousands of dollars for that. And I'll tell you the place where I've gotten the absolute best value for my money is in group coaching, because not only is it you talking to the coach, but you also have a handful of other people that are getting that coaching at the same time, and there's back and forth questions you can listen in on that you may not have thought to ask at the time, and you get the value of that. So I love group coaching.
A lot of people call that a mastermind group.
Yeah, totally. Mastermind group. Absolutely. And then make sure, obviously, the person that if you're getting any one-on-one, just again, that you're getting somebody that's not reading out of the book, not reading, some kind of procedures manual or something. They've been there and done that. And so they can say, from experience, this is what I did.
Yeah. Or maybe this is the way to look at it, or you could try this technique or something like that. Yeah.
Very good point. Because we don't all, again, I think I said earlier, but we none of us know everything about real estate investing.
Yeah.
But at least we should be able to point you in the right direction.
I see why people want to do it, because same reason I got screwed on that first duplex, being told a pro forma was what it was. Well, they know that there's taxes that you don't know about. So it's scary to want to spend your own money without feeling like you know what you're doing. It's scary to want to spend your time or even like your emotional, spend that emotional capacity you have on something scary. And you want to know all this stuff, and you want someone to tell you who knows what they're doing, how to do it right. But I haven't personally come across or seen one that I felt like was worth the money, but that's just because of what I value as what is worth the money. For someone who feels that that's the way they learn information, I don't know what their value is for that. If they think that's worth whatever money it is, and that's what it's worth, that's how the free market works. The money's worth if someone will pay for it. It's not worth it for me because I don't I didn't really so much don't need the pump ups, and that's, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't even say that. What I do value, let me tell you what I do value. What I value, what I would be willing to pay for, what I think would be worth paying for is contacts. And I would pay for those contacts after I've had the success and those contacts have come through. So if I was going to pay somebody like to be my mentor, I'd pay them, be like, all right, hey, can I come into your area and you set me up with your wholesaler, set me up with your contractor, and have my back. And when I run into a problem with this contractor, I want you to call him and say, hey, don't mess with my guy. Do your job right if you got a problem. And I'm not saying the contractor's the problem. I'm just pointing a general finger here.
Yeah.
With every contact that person has, that's worth my money.
Yeah.
But information, in my opinion, is just really readily accessible and free. So if you're going to tell me how to do something, I can go buy a Bigger Pockets book or any one of the other kind of forums or platforms. If I want to have a specific question for myself, I can get on a forum and find a very, very specific question or a very specific answer to a very specific question that's not going to be covered in a general book. I can find YouTube videos forever that cover really specific stuff. So anything that's general information, I feel like is just too easy to come across. The specific niche information can even be found often, but the real details are going to come from experience, from doing it yourself, from getting hands-on and getting that, getting the repetitions, and from your contacts that you can trust that might skip having a lot of problems. So if I just don't see the value in like paying somebody who is going to use you to like make phone calls to people and basically help them as a glorified intern, but you're not getting anything out of it. You just kind of get to see it from the back end. Like, that's an internship. Sure, go do all that all day. I basically did that with my brother, right? Like I shadowed, I watched, but I didn't have to pay them to do that. If I were going to go back and pay, it would be paying for contact information and having them set up and make sure my deals went well.
Well, I'll tell you what, if that's something that you're interested in, and this is a good lesson for any other investors out there, it seems like it would make a lot of sense to just reach out to that person and say, hey, I have this deal right here. Do you want to partner with me on it? You give me access to all of your contacts that you've been doing in the area. Let's just partner on it. I'll put the money in, I'll find the deal or whatever. You give me the contacts, we'll make this thing all work and, cash flow well. And then, I'll give you this much percentage in the back end or whatever. That would make more sense to me.
That's exactly what I did with my family, essentially. Like, hey, partner together, let me do the work, you get that. And that's what I've done on these other deals that I don't really like talk about or think about. It's like, hey, I don't have the capacity to get this deal, but let me set it up for you. Hey, come in on with me, I'll have this little X number a month type of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, there's always ways you can partner with people, but the partnerships are great. Like, by all means, someone wants to have a good partnership and have you do the work and then provide the funds, or vice versa.
That's actually my next question is, what's your experience with partnerships? It sounds like some with your family. And
I think that paid mentorships can be beneficial. I don't agree with charging an exorbitant amount of money for it. And that's one reason I've paid $5,000 for not a mentorship, but like an educational program that sent me through how to do things. And in the end, I wasn't happy with it. So I lost $5,000. If I paid $30,000, I would have been much more upset. Right. And, the two big ones that I paid for, I think I did pay $5,000 for each one of those. And neither one of them were really something that I was real happy about in the end. And both of them basically told me, well, sorry, and so it kind of stuck with me a little bit, like, man, that's a bummer. Someone who's just getting started and trying to learn and trying to become educated and trying to use an educational program to help me get there. And I might not have had the money, it might have been a struggle for me in the beginning because I'm new and now I just lost $5,000. I paid for a program I didn't even like and didn't really do much for me. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
So that's why, I just tried to make my program something that would really give people an ability to hit the ground running, and help them with the things that I wish I had help with, and two, don't make it crazy. Like my program is less than the closing cost of your first property purchase,
Yeah.
right? So to me, I would have done that all day long, and so that's something that that's just how I want to make it. I want to make it affordable, and I want to help people get started.
Yeah.
So I think I offer a little bit more than the average person for quite a bit less, because I'm on the phone all day long with people that are just asking me questions. So, and I'm good with that. I like that.
Cool.
So I guess it's kind of a roundabout way on your to answer your question. I think that the mentorship and coaching programs can be beneficial. I'm not a fan of it costing a lot of money.
Yeah.
My general thoughts are, you are going to pay for an education no matter what route you take in real estate, right? So you can either pay for an education on the front side with a mentor or coaching program, or, one of these gurus or whatever you want to call it, right? Like, you can pay on the front side, get that education, learn all these things, then go apply them in hopes that you don't make any of the mistakes that they tried to teach you not to make, which is awesome. Or, right, you can pay for your education on the backside by learning yourself, right, and then just jumping off the cliff and doing some deals and making some mistakes. If those mistakes cost you money, then you learned a lesson, right? You paid for an education, right? The reason I like the latter instead of the former is because with the paying for the education on the backside, you have the chance to not have to pay for that education. You have the chance to get paid for that education, right? If you make money on these deals, then you got paid to get an education. And I'm no business major, but I'll take getting paid to learn something over paying to learn something any day.
And this question is about your opinion on paid mentorships. So, have you done it? I think this is actually a really interesting question for you personally, because you have that background and you have that outlook on these other large organizations that do the big conferences and all of that stuff. So, again, what is your opinion on paid mentorships? Have you done it? And do you think it's good or bad? And it's probably a question. I'm going to bet the answer is it depends, but let's wait. No, I'm going to let you answer that because I'm curious.
Well, I think mentorship is always good. And, like I said, when I first started, I was a know-it-all, and then I eventually became a learn-it-all. And even to this day, I still go to conferences all the time. Not so much real estate anymore, because I'm a little bit jaded, and I don't sometimes like other people's opinions on things. Because I think a lot of the industry these days is led by people that are really good marketers, that know how to fill rooms, and they know how to, get people to keep spending more money, and not, in my opinion, not delivering that much value. But I'm always doing personal development, and I love to go learn. I'm always learning something. I always love to keep, I'm always reading and seminars. So I recommend everybody definitely get mentors, get education. But where you get that education, definitely do your due diligence. Do it with somebody who's got similar values to you. A lot of people get lured in by these people that are on TV doing flip this and flip that, and then they become the face of some marketing company that puts them in front of a room. 99% of the time, that's not going to give you a good result. So do your research. Go and research, do due diligence on the people you're going to work with before you give them their hard-earned money. But definitely, get an education, get a mentor, get somebody who's already made the mistakes so that you don't have to make them. And when I look at what I paid for mentorship and I learn what I've spent in mistakes, man, if I knew 30 years ago what I know now, I can't even tell you how much money I could have saved. So, so yeah, definitely I recommend mentorships, and I also recommend doing a lot of personal development, working on yourself, and going to, if you don't work on yourself, nothing else is going to work. And so I'm definitely somebody who's done both. I tried real estate on my own. That was very, very costly. And then I luckily hired somebody who could help me after that. And had I not hired them, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So, but just be really careful, do your due diligence. There's a lot of, we have the internet these days. We've got Google. So Google, and see what the success rate is of the people that you're looking to work with. And also just be really, if you're in the middle of a seminar that you paid nothing to get into, or a very low fee, and then suddenly you're trying to sell you that $30,000 thing, give a lot of thought to it before you jump in, because that $30,000 might be able to buy you your first piece of real estate. So I'm not saying don't do it, and I'm not saying that there's any certain price level that at some point don't invest. But if you're going to be a successful real estate investor, you're always going to look at ROI, which is return on investment. If you're going to spend $30,000, is it going to make you your $30,000 back and more? And a lot of people that come to me that have taken other people's training have spent $30,000 up to, I've seen as much as $100,000, and a very, very, very small percentage ever get their money back. So just be careful. That'd be my advice. But definitely always be learning, always be educating yourself, and always be hanging around with like-minded people. That's the most important thing, especially positive people, because it's very easy to go to to educate yourself and get excited about something. And you're always going to be around naysayers that are going to try to pull you down and say, oh, that's not going to work, and that's BS. And so, hang out with people that are pushing you on and inspiring you, as opposed to pulling you down. So that'd be my best advice for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I think the most common naysayer that most people are going to have are like their parents or family members. It's like number one almost every time. So it's fascinating. But
it's your friends and family.
Yeah, they care about you, but they also don't trust you. It's kind of a weird, I don't know. It's funny. Family, right?
That's sure.
All right, on to the next question here. So what is your experience with?
I think it's all about, how much you value yourself and your personal development and what you're willing to do. I mean, can you do it on your own? Sure. But why? I mean, so to answer your question, I'll share what we did. We were in our early 20s and had no clue what we were doing. And so we scraped together money and we bought courses. We spent, I think, $25,000 through Dave Lindahl. We learned through his multifamily courses. And is it magic? Did we overnight become successful? No, of course not. That's not how it works. But I mean, I think it's ironic how everybody, not everybody, the society, has no problem going deeply into debt for conventional tuition in college. And there's mixed data that comes out of, is that a good ROI on your money? I would say in many of the, majors, it is not. And yet, parents, are adamant their kids need to go and graduate from a college and get a good job. And, this is the message from Robert Kiyosaki about how that's not necessarily the right thing to do. But for us, we had a huge ROI for that, that money. We spent thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, well into the six figures that we've spent in personal development and coaching. I mean, now 13 years later, it's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've spent on coaching and personal development and consultants. And why would you not? There's wise people out there. And if you're not doing anything, right, if you're not going to go out and be actively doing anything, then save your money. Don't waste it. But if you're actively investing, if you're buying properties, if you have a lot of activity to accompany the coaching, it's like learning doesn't really work unless you're applying it, right? My friend is in the last months of his medical. What do you call after you get through school and you have 3 years under Thank you, residency.
Sure.
So he's in his last month of residency. For the last 3 years, he's been, being coached mentored by, physicians, doctors all around him. I mean, that the value of that is huge before he goes off on his own and he's, working as a doctor independently. That's a great example of how it works. And I would say that if you don't have any money, then go to the networking events, meetup events, or virtual versions, and ask people for feedback all along the way. If we read 100 books in the first few years on real estate, every book we could find, if someone was further along in real estate than we were trying to talk to them and pick their brain.
All right, guys, that wraps up this video. If you'd like to connect with us and partner on some multifamily deals, click on the link below and we can send you all the info on how to get started there. If you'd like to check out the videos from the beginning of this playlist, click on this link right here. To check out the link that Google wants you to watch, click on this link right here. And lastly, if you want to make sure you see the future videos that we'll be posting in the same series, click on this subscribe link right here. You'll be all set to go. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.